Charles, welcome to my ghetto studio.
Yes, there are blankets on the wall.
Oh yeah, that's what you do too.
And a rainbow flag. Oh, sweet.
So we just saw Annihilation, like just minutes ago. Well, not minutes ago.
I have a feeling this is going to be a short, spoiler-free section, because we're gonna want to. Because the most I will say about this movie for people who have not seen it that don't know anything about it, that's the best. The trailer, the trailer is actually a good trailer, because it doesn't really show anything important.
Right.
It kind of gives you the basic premise.
But it kind of still leads you in the wrong direction, though. It leads you to think it's an action movie.
It's fine. It's fine by me, man.
All right. I don't know. I might say don't watch it, but either way, if this doesn't convince you to see it, then watch the trailer. But otherwise, I'd say just see it.
Yeah. If the trailer's like, oh, I don't want a dumb action movie where Natalie Portman is just shooting things, it's like, this is an actual like sci-fi movie. Yeah. It's not an action movie. So
is it considered hard sci-fi?
No.
No, I don't think so.
No. This
dips a little into fantasy, I think.
Yeah, without spoiling it. Yeah. It does it enough to where it's believable.
Yeah.
And not too much more.
Right.
So the premise is there's this wall of shimmering light.
The Shimmer is what they call it, yeah.
Yeah, it's called the Shimmer. I like that. It's kind of cool. And they don't know anything about it at all.
Yeah.
And they just send teams, and the teams don't come back. And so Natalie Portman's team eventually gets sent to discover what happens. And that's as much as I can say without spoiling.
Pretty much, yeah. I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's like, so what kind of people would like this movie? Maybe what kind of people? I think there's groups of people that probably won't like this movie.
Yeah, if you're a big action fan, you're not gonna, like if you like, tons of action and a minimalist kind of like narrative or characters or story, you're probably not gonna like this. This is more of a slow burn kind of movie.
It's a slow burn, but it stays intense most of the time.
Yeah, it's not as slow as Blade Runner.
Right, yeah. But there's still some people probably bored by it.
Yeah, I can see that. If you don't like more, what would you say, character-driven kind of stuff, then you're not gonna like this too much. If you like sci-fi, you'll definitely like this, I think.
It delves a little bit into thriller territory, maybe a little horror.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm really trying to work around it.
Pretty much just, if you're a sci-fi fan, see this movie, I guess.
Recommendations? Personal recommendations?
I would just say I really like the movie. So.
Yeah, I really did too. I'll talk more about reasons why I did, but they're very spoiler. As somebody, I've been wanting kind of like a good sci-fi, and The Arrival was like, I know it was critically acclaimed, and I really did enjoy it, but it didn't really scratch that itch. This one did that more.
Oh yeah. I think I don't know. I think I have to watch Arrival a second time.
Yeah, but to be fair.
But it got pretty close.
Yeah.
So you've been warned, 3, 2, 1, spoiler territory. Okay, well, I'll start off with a few things that I noticed off the bat, and I realized later on that it all comes into play. For one, the coloring. You notice that there's like, what do you call it? The rainbow effect that you see in Mist, it's all over the movie. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
And obviously that comes into play with the whole...
The shimmer, the reflected
and when
light.
they talk about later about reflected... Yeah.
Sorry. Well, no, because there's refracting.
Oh, I was having trouble. I'm mixing the words up.
Right when you're about to say it.
I said reflecting.
It's both. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So, actually, it's a huge thing in the movie is reflections.
Yeah.
But that comes mostly in the later, but I think if you watch it again, I bet you see it a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure it's probably in there kind of like in small details. That's what I was kind of waiting for, which they didn't do when they were sitting there delving into like the ideas of reflections. I thought they were going to start showing more and more of that. Yeah. But they didn't.
They really didn't. They just kind of, she talks about it for like a quick second during the interview.
Okay. I guess to give context, if you're still watching and you haven't seen it yet, and you just want to hear us discuss it. Yeah. What happens is her and her husband met when they were in the military. Mm-hmm. He always goes off to missions because she took the academic route. And the last mission, he's just gone for a year, and she's depressed out of her mind because her husband's gone. No idea what happened because it's a very classified kind of thing, like most military stuff is. And then one day he just walks into the room and she just fucking like wigs out. But he's not there. You can instantly tell he's just like got the 1,000-yard stare.
And all his answers are, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know.
And he's obviously like mentally doesn't know what happened.
Yeah.
How long were you gone? I don't know. And she thinks he's trying to cover it up, but then she starts to realize something's wrong.
Yeah.
He starts bleeding, starts to have seizures, and they take him to a hospital, or about to. Government Men in Black type of things intervene, and she's stuck into a facility. But it's not evil or anything. I was kind of getting evil vibes at first.
Right, yeah.
And I think that was the point. But then they show her what's happening. They show her there was a shimmer. It's just engulfed this big area because a long time ago, like 3 years prior, a meteor comes down, hits, and then something happens. Something biology-wise.
Right, yeah.
Like you can kind of get the hints. And she's a biologist, so they kind of put her on the team because she knows she can be an asset to them.
Yeah, right.
And so the team that they send are all scientists because they sent nothing but military, and they didn't come back. So they're like, we need people.
Oh, and she also requests to be a part of the team because she kind of feels like her life is kind of pointless without her husband. And now that he's back and he's like, she doesn't know what to do, all she could think of is to go and solve the mystery so she can get it back.
Because then she can figure out how to maybe cure him because he's incubated, he's got tubes and
his
stuff.
organs are shutting down.
Yeah, all of his organs.
Yeah.
And so they go in, and if you've seen the trailer, the world is beautiful.
Yeah.
Plant life is growing wildly, and then they start noticing, like, she looks at a plant, she's like, this looks like a bunch of different plants, but it's all stemmed from the same one.
Yeah.
This is physically impossible.
Yeah.
It's one plant,
like
but
it's like it's
plants.
Evolving as it's growing.
Like it's mutating but it's mutating along with the other stuff around it to where it's diversifying in the same thing. I guess not to drag on it too much. I guess what would the next key point? The alligator, maybe? Because that's shortly after.
Well, I was just gonna bring up because just rewind a little bit at the facility. What's the actress's name? Not the main, not Natalie.
Oh, I don't know. I've seen her before.
Jennifer Jason Leigh. I love her in everything I see. The fact that I didn't used to because I didn't know who she was, but lately I've been noticing her everywhere. She's in Pulp Fiction, for one. She's the drug addict, or the drug dealer, and she's the girlfriend of the drug dealer.
Oh yeah, that's where I recognize her
She's
from.
Also in the show I've been watching lately about this kid with autism, and she's the mother. I can't remember what it's called. And we
Good Doctor?
No.
Oh.
No. And she was also just in a movie we just reviewed, Good Time. She's the girlfriend of...
Is she just everybody's girlfriend?
Actually, she plays the girlfriend a lot. She's in Hateful Eight. She's the prisoner.
No, that's what I know her from.
Yeah. She's one of Tarantino's picks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, from everything I've just named, you could tell she plays a lot of different roles, and she's very good at what she does. But in this movie, I thought her acting was kind of flat.
Yeah.
I was wondering if there was a reason for that, and I wonder if I watched it again, maybe I'll pick up on some reason, but I never got it.
Her character, because every other character was okay, but hers, because you're supposed to get the idea that there's kind of something else going on there, that she's at the end of her rope, and even before they went to the shimmer, you're getting, like, she's kind of acting crazy almost.
Right.
Like, she's sitting there writing notes in her office, and her head's, like, all to the side, and she's, like, looks like she's almost about to fall asleep, and she doesn't really care. And I think she was trying to do something very complicated, and it maybe just didn't translate properly.
Right, yeah. But, yeah, it's just very monotone. The way she talks. Kind of monotone. There's not much excitement in her voice. Maybe she's trying to emulate the whole I'm a psychologist thing, and I don't know.
Maybe a combination of that and the character is depressed.
Right.
And you find out later on why.
She doesn't even really show emotion until towards the end of the film, and it felt a little forced to me.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, like, I haven't said yet, I do have gripes with the movie. I think there was holes, and there were some problems. I mean, overall, I liked it, but that's one of the problems I had was her acting when she's a really great actress.
Yeah.
And all the acting, the rest of the acting in the movie is great. Mostly I have no problem.
I think some of the times I kind of got pulled out just a little bit, but it wasn't bad. It just felt kind of off. So I can't really pinpoint like the other actors.
Yeah.
So, okay, what happens next in the movie? Because they're finding that everything's mutating. They come across an alligator and they almost fucking die from it, and they shoot it. And she looks at it and, like, this alligator has shark's teeth almost.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, how can this happen? Is it crossbreeding? She's like, you can't crossbreed species.
Two different species, yeah.
And so it's like, nothing is kind of making sense. Things are kind of almost like their genes are splicing together in
Right,
a way.
yeah.
And you go through, and what happens after that? Because it is a slow movie, and you just kind of get character development. And you find out everybody, the reason why they're all in there, they all have some sort of issue.
Yeah.
You know, one girl, like, you get the idea, or she has, you know, cut marks on her arms. The psychologist has cancer, come to find out.
Yeah.
And then another lady, she had lost her daughter long ago, so it's like all these people that...
I thought she had cancer from being there.
No, I think she had cancer before she went in. That's why she didn't...
Oh, I thought it was being there that gave her the cancer.
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. Because they bring up at some point when she sees the plants, and she says they're malignant, almost like a tumor or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was the idea of like, oh, these things are dangerous in a way, and you're like, oh, is it going to affect them?
Right,
Because if it's affecting everything in here...
Well, that's why I
shouldn't
thought maybe it would...
No, well, how would they tell, though?
Well, that's a good point. I don't know. Well, one thing about, like, her character, another kind of problem I had was the whole coincidence that she happened to know so much about genes, and that's what the whole movie is based on, is...
Which one, the main character?
Yeah, Natalie Portman's character.
I guess if you look at it like that, that starts getting into the movie logic of the main character.
Right, yeah.
Knows what's going on. Yeah, that one, you have to suspend your disbelief a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're going through, everything she's looking at, the genes are just, don't make sense.
Yeah, yeah.
They can't keep track of time sometimes. Like they have...
Oh, right, because, well, first off, once they enter, they cut to another scene, and then they cut back, and she's getting out of her tent, and she's like, I don't remember how we got here.
Yeah,
like, none of us remember once we entered there, and, you know, and then pretty much they're like 3 days had gone by, because they know because they could look at their food rations.
Yeah. And there's also, it's a non-linear because Natalie Portman is being interviewed in a quarantined room by people in, you know, biohazard kind of outfits.
Right.
And they're like, how long were you in there? She's like, weeks, maybe. And they're like, yeah, you've been gone for months.
Yeah.
And so it's like the shimmer messes with people's perceptions of time. I guess maybe just measurements of time, maybe not time itself.
She also mentions that she doesn't remember ever eating.
Yeah. So I don't know if time was actually slowed for them,
or if it was memory loss, or
just
what.
severe memory loss. Yeah.
I think that might be one of those like left up to the imagination type of things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really not important. You don't care because you're just intrigued. And as they're delving deeper into the shimmer, they finally come across like an old base that used to be a part of the facility, but then the shimmer engulfed it. And they realize, oh, the teams have been here before, because they can see just like supplies and stuff still there. They pick up a gun like, oh, this is too heavy, it's a light machine gun, blah, blah, blah.
And this is where it starts getting into horror territory a little bit.
Because they find a camera, or no, they find a little memory card in a bag and it says, for those who follow us.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, this is a previous team.
This is for us.
Put it into the camera and it looks like a ISIS video.
Right?
Of just like there's a guy in a chair and they're pointing the lights at him. But then you get the idea, like they're patting him, they're like, you okay? He's like, and he's just kind of out of it. And so one guy pops in a frame and it's her husband.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, fuck. And the team doesn't know it's her husband. Only one person does. The psychologist that went with him.
Yeah.
And they pull out a knife and they start gutting this dude. Like they cut like a little window into his stomach. And you get the idea, like the guy's kind of letting him do it. So it's...
Right, but at the same time, he's struggling. But then again, someone's cutting your stomach. Like, you're probably going to struggle. Yeah,
because, they keep patting him, like, okay, let's do this. And he's like, yeah. They cut open his stomach, pull back the flap, and you just see something like almost snake-like wrapped around.
Yeah.
And like they even put their hand underneath it, and so you're like, okay, fuck.
Right, yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. And I think you kind of squirmed a bit at that part.
Yeah, I did. Well, once it was open, it was fine. It was the cutting part that kind of made me squirm.
Yeah, that's...
I have a thing with knives in movies. It probably started with Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, that scarred you.
Yeah.
And then they shut it off because everybody's freaking out, and they don't want to watch it anymore. And they're like, no, it was a trick of the light. They just went insane and started cutting each other up.
Right, yeah.
And then one person kind of runs off into the room, and does she call to other people and they kind of come in?
I don't know. I think they're just all... You mean the where the pool is?
Yeah.
I think they're just all heading there.
Yeah, okay. So they go in the pool and they see that guy that was sitting there with the knife in the water, but his body is expanded like almost like a fungus looking thing. And it's like just really body horror. It was done really well.
It's kind of reminiscent of The Thing a little bit, except for it's not a living monster. It's
like a plant.
Yeah, it's like a plant. His skull is like out of his head.
Yeah, like it was kind of ripped out as it grew.
Yeah.
Yeah,
very.
It grew up really high up.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that scene in The Thing where it's like, but it's not moving. It's just like a plant. It looks like fungus. And so they realize, okay, something was in the guy.
What I liked about that part, because it was like very body horror, but also felt a little. I don't think it was meant to, but it almost felt tribal, or what do you call it? Or maybe that's not the right word.
Was it because of the bright colors?
No. That's not the right word. What do you call it? Like when like witches do something to summon a demon. Ritualistic. That's what it kind of looked like to me. Even though I know that's not what it meant to be, but it was
I can see that.
Yeah, but so it was kind of a little inspiring for me. Like I was telling you earlier, I stopped paying attention certain times because I started writing in my head. Mm-hmm. Well, this movie was good for inspiration for like that kind of like horror.
Oh yeah, I think this movie was very done like artistic wise. Like not a lot of movies are. There's art put into it, but this one, the little set pieces gave you a good kind of environment.
And that kind of like a little bit brings me to the soundtrack. Because you said artistic. The music is not what you expect at all.
Oh, it fit along with me.
Well, no, it fit. It's not what I expected from this like sci-fi type horror, a little bit of action type thing. It's just this guitar, very light guitar playing, you know? Mm-hmm. And I mean, there's parts where the music fits. I mean, don't get me wrong, the whole thing fits. There's parts where the music is a little bit more makes sense in a way that like that's what you expected. But for the most part, just that guitar playing, and I thought it fit well. I wasn't expecting it. Okay, so we saw the guy that was drawn on the wall.
Drawn on the wall, almost, because he's so flattened up because of the fungus and stuff. And like that's a motif that you keep. Motif, is that a proper motif you keep seeing? Like a theme you keep seeing?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
is just this like well done horror.
Yeah.
At no point was I scared in this movie, but I felt horror for the characters, and that doesn't make sense. But you get what I mean.
Right.
And I was like, this is actual...
felt fear for the characters.
It's horror done properly. I'm not scared at all, but I keep seeing this imagery. I'm like, that's creepy as fuck. I love it.
Yeah.
Because, later on, like right after that, they're camped out. They're just, people are keeping guard, and they're discussing and revealing their characters. And, okay, everybody's kind of damaged. That's why they're here. They're trying to solve their own problem, essentially. Or at least solve a big problem to kind of ignore their own. Yeah. And they've got nothing left to lose. And then a bear attacks.
Yeah. Wait. Okay. The first
time the bear attacks. And so the bear attacks and it drags somebody off, screaming. Just into the darkness is like, well, fuck.
Right.
And so the characters are just kind of. This is where you start getting the breakdown in authority. I guess there was never authority. But
this is where you start getting the mistrust.
Yeah. The paranoia. Yeah. That starts setting in. Because people, they're starting to lose their minds. They're seeing stuff, and it's like, is it there? Is it not?
Right.
Like, when one character keeps staring at her hand, and when people see her, she kind of puts it away.
Yeah.
So the next day, they go out, and like, okay, we want to go back.
Oh, yeah.
Like, one character says it, and so there's a little bit of fighting. And the main character says, well, we can't go back, because that's 6 hours away, 6 days?
Oh, no, just that they can't just go back because the whole idea is they're lost because they don't remember the first 3 days of being there. So they're technically 100% lost. So they could only go to the beach and then follow that south.
Well, no,
out of the bubble.
I guess so, because how she like convinced other people. If we try to find our way back, that's days behind us.
Yeah.
If we can do it, what we can do is keep going where we're going, find the shoreline, and follow the shoreline quicker outside the shimmer.
Right.
And they're like, okay, fine, we'll stick together. And so that they go along. The main character's like, okay, they find like a boot. And like it was the other.
Oh yeah, the girl that got dragged off by the bear.
She's like, okay, I'm gonna go find it. And so the other three stay behind. The paranoid chick is like, oh, I'll come with you. And she's like, no. And so that creates that division.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
So the main character kind of just goes off, got her gun out. She's just checking the wilderness. She sees this beautiful fucking antelope deer looking thing.
Yeah.
And it stands up, and its horns are tree branches with flowers on the end of it. And it's a really cool.
And this is kind of before the reveal, so like I'm sitting there going, how did flowers get on the, the tree?
No, that wasn't before the reveal.
No, that was before the major reveal, I would say.
I know, but it was after the plants.
Yeah, but not the part where the plants and the animals are sort of fusing.
I guess so. To me, like that just was fine. Like, oh, okay, she's.
To me, I was kind of still going. There's plants now attached to the antlers. I
guess to me that translated just fine because if one plant was like mutating into different species of plants,
right?
It's like to me, it's like okay, why can't an animal mutate into a plant as well? So to me, I just accepted it like straight up.
Yeah, that would not to me. Now it makes sense to me because of what's revealed later.
Well, I don't know. I guess it's just everybody interprets it different because I was just like, okay, I'm in. Like,
yeah. Maybe I also see things as a little bit more science-y. I don't know.
Me too. But once she said like this is behaving not according to science.
Yeah, but they made it sound like it still is. It's like a crazy form of science. Even though they keep saying it's impossible, but...
Well, but if two different species are able to mutate together, sort of, or if one species can turn into multiple species in one...
That is true. It's just, I guess I saw animals can become different animals,
I guess to you, it was the
it just,
plant kingdom versus
flora
animal
and
kingdom.
fauna are so far apart to me, I guess. I see them so separate, even though, of course, they go to beginning, which they explain at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. No, I get that. But the other thing, too, that antelope-looking thing, was as soon as it stood up, there was another one next to it. You're like, oh, there's two. But every movement it did, the other one did, too.
I missed that, too.
Did you?
No, I mean, I missed that they both do things at the same time.
It was all...
But I didn't go back and think about the whole mirroring thing.
Yeah. Because it did that, but the other one looked slightly different. Because this one was like a beautiful white, like albino-looking antelope. Mm-hmm. And the other one had like these weird spots. And so I'm like... Okay, so they're connected somehow, but slightly different. And they kept bringing up, because she's a biologist, they kept bringing up cell division.
Yeah.
So I just assumed like it was somehow like this antelope kind of butted off the other one, and so they were acting the same, and they run off side by side.
I missed sort of details like that a lot of the time, so I missed a lot of that. I just saw these antelope kind of and how they acted like very similar to each other, but I didn't see a lot of.
Oh, okay.
Even though like all the cell division, I heard all that, but I didn't put I put that together with a lot of other things, but
Yeah, and this is where I had like my own idea of like, oh, what if she butted off into another person? How would that kind of look? Like I'm just exploring this idea. Like if she's walking through with her gun, is someone else gonna like walk next to her, and it's like a reflection kind of thing?
Yeah, see, I didn't get the mirroring thing until a lot later.
Yeah. Well, no, that was just like a kind of a happy circumstance.
Right.
Of like, okay, if that kind of butted off. Oh, how would that look with a person? Like, I wasn't even making a connection there.
Right, yeah.
I was just kind of exploring my own little idea, but that actually comes into play later, too.
Yeah.
And so she comes back and tells them, like, yeah, she's dead. And they're like, oh, okay. And so they start going off. They come into this area, and it looks like it was a neighborhood or a house or something. Mm-hmm. And there's these plants that are, they look like they're in the shape of people.
Yeah.
But you go up to it, and it's not a person that turned into a plant. It's just a plant where the branches kind of grew in that way.
It just grew out to look like people holding hands and stuff.
And beautiful, gorgeous. Because it looks like families of people. Yeah. And so you're just like, okay, how did that happen?
Right.
And so she goes up, and this is one problem I have with it. She goes up, and she's, the biologist, the main character, is looking at the plant and stuff. And this is where it got kind of like, I had to make a little bit of a leap to go, just, okay, that's fine. Was the physicist, a really shy girl. Mm-hmm. She kind of comes up and she gives us a little exposition a bit.
Oh, yeah.
And she starts to say, because she's a physicist, she's like, the radios don't work. And it wasn't because we couldn't get the signal out, but it's being, what is it called? Scattered.
Scattered, yeah.
Or scrambled.
Yeah.
She's like, the signals are happening, but the shimmer is creating reflections. And so the signal just disperses, and so we can't do anything with it.
Right.
What if it's not doing it with just light? What if it's doing with all other kinds of information, like DNA? And that was where they made a little bit too much of a jump, because it's like, this is a physicist. How does she just make this connection?
It's funny because that part actually was fine for me. I don't know.
But you and I are just accepting different things.
But at the same time, what was funny because I had this weird moment there where I was like, I wonder how much of these science terms they are saying are made up or real science terms. Like she says, if you look at that plant, it's got human gene horcrux or something.
She said something. Yeah, horcrux. I don't know the word either, so I can't criticize you on that.
And I'm like, I wonder if that's a real term, you know?
So, yeah.
It probably was.
The term that she used is something that it's like in your DNA, it has the building blocks of what your structure of your body should be. And she's like, well, these plants have a structure of a human body, so is, you know, people DNA being reflected onto them to where they're being formed into the shape of people.
Yeah.
And if that's happening to them, is that happening to us?
Yeah.
And so you get the idea of like, okay, just all kinds of information, DNA, everything's being reflected to one another, and that's what's mutating.
What I also really liked is she used the term prism. She said the shimmer is a prism, which goes back to the coloring I talked about.
Yeah.
With the rainbows everywhere.
Yeah.
It's because it's one giant prism. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's one of those callbacks I really liked. Because at the beginning, that was obvious, man. I saw rainbows all over the place.
Yeah. Oh, I just assumed it was a part of the atmosphere or whatever, which I guess it is.
At first, I just thought it was really pretty coloring, you know?
Yeah, and so that's how they figure out, like, okay, this is why people are going crazy, because it's manipulating their DNA.
Yeah.
And they're losing their minds, and nothing can make sense. They can't make sense of anything. So that's when they notice, like, okay, the longer we stay in here, the longer it's going to, you know, change us.
Yeah.
That's why nobody makes it back. Everybody goes insane, or they get manipulated to the point of their body no longer functions.
Right.
Or they get turned into a fucking plant.
Yeah.
These plants did it, but that one guy turned into a fungus type of thing. So this is where people lose their shit.
Yeah.
They go in the house, they board it up, and the main character wakes up to the paranoid lady saying, "You fucking liar."
Yeah.
Hits her in the face with the butt of a gun.
And we cut to a scene that we already cut to before, and I'm still not 100% sure why it fits in the movie, but
sex scene.
Her affair with the black guy.
They could have cut that and then the movie would be just the same.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that was important.
In the beginning, because before she leaves, she was talking to a colleague, and he touches her shoulder, and I'm like, that's really intimate. Maybe it's just he's being super friendly, whatever.
Yeah.
But it comes into play that she had an affair with this guy, and that's the reason why she went in, was to do a favor for her husband. Like, that's not necessary at all.
Right, yeah.
And like, they totally could have cut, because they repeated the scene partially 2 times.
Right.
Like the sex scene, and you're like, oh, she's having sex with her husband, because they keep coming back between her life before with her husband, and it's like, oh no, it's that guy.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't give a shit.
Were they just trying to put in drama?
I guess so. That was her motivation for going in. She didn't need any other
her
motivation.
Motivation was that
other than she's a scientist. She's
a scientist and her husband, and she wants to find a cure for her husband.
And her husband has total organ failure, so there's no bringing him back, and she's being logical.
It's like either I go in here, I have no life without him, so either he dies or I go and try to save him, and if I die in the process, then that's that.
Either way, nothing to lose. So
yes, they didn't need
that could have been trimmed, and been totally fine with it.
If somebody could explain to me why it fits, I'm happy to hear it, but I don't know.
Is it supposed to make her character more believable, more human? I don't know. I didn't, because every time it happened, that's how I am in movies now. Is like, or sex scenes just kind of throw in a little bit of nudity in there.
As soon as they first showed that, that's what originally my thought went to. I was like, okay, so is this needed? You know, because like at one point, sometimes the sex scenes are put in and it works with the story, and sometimes it just feels like the movie is taking a break for a porno.
Yeah, exactly. There's not.
I mean, it's not gratuitous.
Oh,
it's tastefully done.
Yeah, it's just like I don't need this drama.
Yeah.
It's like, this is not a love triangle romance movie.
No, yeah.
Yeah, that happened. That was weird. But then she wakes up from that, because every time she falls asleep, it kind of cuts to that kind of stuff, almost like it's a dream.
Right. Yeah.
And that's fine. But then it cuts back, and 3 of the people are all tied up, and the paranoid lady's got the gun, and then she's like, "You lied." And she has her locket that she's been having around her neck that has her husband's picture. Yeah. And since they all saw the video with the husband, she's now paranoid. She's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. How do you know this guy? Well, you're lying. Is he your brother? Is he your husband? And, you know.
And then she had a reaction. She's like, your husband.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, she's like super paranoid. She's got a gun to everybody's fucking temples. And this was probably one of my most favorite parts on the horror aspect of the movie. Yeah. She hears, help me, oh God, or just like screaming. Yeah. And it's the lady that died. Yeah. And she's like, since the main character is the only one that saw the dead body, this paranoid lady's like...
Well, she also points out, like, nobody else saw a bear. It was only you 2 that saw the bear.
Yeah. And it's like, And nobody saw her dead body, and then, screaming, and so she's like, oh, God, yeah, I'm going to come help you. So she runs out, and then you hear something. Like, was it a gunshot, or was it just like a...
Actually, I don't remember.
Was it just like fighting? You hear like a quick noise, and then just silence, and the bear walks in. You see its shadow, but then its face pops in, and its face is like super slender, and it's just
like
just teeth.
Kind of skull-ish.
Yeah, so you kind of see bits of skull, but it's totally messed up in a mutated way. And so that bear comes in, and you're like, oh, fuck. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool already. I like the design of the bear. The bear gets real close, opens its mouth, and it makes a noise that sounds like the lady screaming for help.
Yeah, oh my, that was pretty creepy.
And I'm like, is it using screams to lure people to it? Because that's fucking amazing.
Yeah, right.
And because the people are standing still, as long as they're standing still, it just kind of walks around them, opens its mouth and screams, and it's just like, that is good horror right there.
The only things I wish I don't know why I wasn't as immersed at that point. I wish I was more, because I wasn't that scared. I didn't feel that. Yeah. And I kind of wish I did. I wish, it was definitely intense, but I just didn't feel that real deep, intense like fear that I used to feel as a kid with horror movies, and
I think because it is a fantasy creature at this point, and so you kind of just
that probably has something to do with it.
But to me, like I was told, because I was having that same thought, like this is not scary to me, but this is amazing.
Yeah.
Just like the design of this animal that's using.
So it did creep me out every time it screamed.
Yeah.
That probably gave me goosebumps.
I think that's why I enjoyed it. I don't really like being scared. I like being creeped out. And
yeah.
that really was creepy. And so the paranoid lady comes back in, her neck's bitten, but she kind of survived it. Starts shooting at the bear.
Surprisingly enough, not hitting anybody else. That part took me out a little bit.
Yeah, and she wasn't combat trained. She was an EMT.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. It's not that hard to, because she wasn't like doing these amazing shootings. She's just keeping it between people.
Exactly.
No, the bullet catches Natalie Portman in the back of the head.
Yeah. Credits roll.
It's like, wow, that turned really hard. Just get up, you start applauding.
Yeah.
Bear attacks her, knocking people over, and the one girl escapes, blah, blah, blah. She's able to kill the bear.
She just fills his head with bullets.
Yeah. Yeah, really made sure that thing went down.
Yeah. Same with what she kind of did to the alligator earlier. What Natalie's character did to the alligator.
Yeah.
The crocodile shark thing.
Conglomerate.
Yeah.
Kill the bear. Because after this, it goes pretty quick, I think.
Oh, well, Jennifer Jason Leigh's character says, oh, I'm going now. And she's like, well, it's not even day yet. And she's like, well, I have to at least get going even if it's by myself because we're deteriorating and I need to finish the mission.
Yeah.
Like, if I wait, I'm just going to deteriorate and I'm no longer going to be who I am right now.
Yeah, she's saying, like, we're mentally and physically deteriorating. We don't have time.
Yeah.
As evident by the paranoid lady that had a gun in everybody's face.
Yeah.
The paranoid lady, she was sitting there talking about how the reason why she's looking at her hands was her fingerprints.
Yeah.
Were moving.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out next time I see it because they do a close up and I didn't notice it.
Yeah, I didn't either. It's really tiny. But I think that was kind of the point, was like, it's not too in your face to where you know what's going on.
Right.
You just can kind of guess.
So Jennifer Jason Leigh's character goes off and then it shows in the morning the two left are talking. And then the shy girl mentions how an imprint of the girl that was murdered by the bear first must have been left on the bear.
And that's how it got the screaming.
Yeah. And she's like, to think that the only thing left of you that exists is you dying and in pain. She's like, I don't want that. Yeah. And I didn't realize what was about to happen.
Yeah, as she gets up, you can see
and I'm like watching, I know something's going on with her arms at first. And I was wondering if it had something to do with the cuts on her arms or something. Mm-hmm. But then at one point I'm like, wait a second, there's something green on her arms,
Yeah.
And
well, at first it's very tiny and it's barely there.
Yeah.
But as she gets up and walking, like there's these leaves kind of growing out of her skin, which to me is a little creepy. It's just like, ugh.
Yeah. It was kind of skin crawly.
Literally.
Yeah. But is that what you thought, that she kind of gave herself to? Like
almost like she kind of willed for it to happen, to turn into a plant, because she rounds a corner around a hedge and Natalie Portman's like, screaming her name. I can't remember anybody's names ever.
Nope.
And she goes out there and she just sees all these plant people and she's just like, one of them could be her. She could have turned into a fucking plant.
Yeah, and as far as we know, that's what all those plant people were. They used to be people, but we, of course, again, left up to the imagination.
Yeah, it was either they were people that didn't escape, or it was just plants that...
Or we're getting into that mirror part again, where plants mirroring the people or something.
Yeah, like they just pulled the DNA from people, and that's how the plants grew into a people.
Yeah.
That's what I got, was that.
Yeah.
But could have been a combination of both. Didn't really matter. That's the point. It was like, okay, this is fucking horrifying. Yeah. You either get turned into a plant, or plants just turn into people.
And so, so looking back, I kind of like appreciated that, where she was like, because the thing is, they already hinted at that she might be suicidal, even though the one woman says she's not. Just the cutting was just, like she said, clean life rather than.
Just one of those things. It's like where people cut, where just to feel something, just an endorphin release essentially.
Right. But I guess maybe she was or something. But also that I don't think that really matters, because it was like either I die a horrible, awful death, or I just let myself turn into
something beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought that was kind of nice.
Because basically like her little death scene is like when she looks out and sees all these plant people, it's bright and colorful and it's just gorgeous.
Right.
So after that, they're obviously real close to the lighthouse, and so she just starts moving towards it.
And this is the part where it becomes a Tool music video.
Yeah.
The whole ending is pretty much just one Tool music video without the Tool music.
Yeah, she goes to the lighthouse, and
if that doesn't convince you to see it, I don't know what will.
There's there's stuff growing in the lighthouse, and there's these beautiful crystal trees.
They're like made out of crystals.
Yeah,
or
those were
ice
gorgeous.
or something.
I think crystals.
I think it was probably crystals. Yeah. Yeah, because she mentioned that the closer you get to the lighthouse, the weirder shit gets.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fucking like, this is dreamscape now.
Yeah.
She gets close and she sees all these skulls lined up, like somebody purposely put them there. Their rib cages are in the sand. And it's like, okay, the military people made it here enough, and one person was still there, was insane, did this ritual looking thing. And she goes in, there's a burned body in the corner.
Yeah.
And there's a hole, and it's like, okay, that's the hole that the meteor, when it hit the lighthouse, went into the ground.
Again, another part that took me out of the movie, because I'm like, in me knowing, obviously, a meteor wouldn't just leave a hole like that. It would have destroyed the lighthouse and left a gigantic crater.
Well, not unless it degraded enough to be tiny. Because it can be kind of tiny, but it still creates a huge destruction.
That's true. That's
compared
possible.
to its size.
That is possible.
That being said, you're not. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. Oh, it hit perfectly in the lighthouse and down into the ground, and there's across from the burned body is another camera. And so she turns it on, and her husband pops into view, sits on the ground, and just starts explaining like
his mushroom trip.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, that's what it sounds like. He's talking about how I used to believe I was a human named, again, I don't know names like you do.
Well, because you get the idea is like, yeah, I used to believe this, but maybe I'm not.
Right.
And it's like, huh? And then I was starting to get it, I'm like, I kind of know what's going on here. Because they've already done the reflections.
Yeah, no, I was starting to kind of get it there.
Yeah.
Well, especially since he came back. So it's like,
Because, he's sitting down where that burned body was. It's like, okay, you're starting to make connections.
Oh, yeah.
He pulls out a phosphorus grenade. And like, you ever seen a phosphorus grenade? It's pretty light, or it's pretty, bright. Cover your eyes. He's talking to somebody else.
Yeah.
And, lets the...
Well, before it goes off, he says, if you get out, make sure to find,
Lilo, blah, blah.
Leanne,
the main character. Natalie Portman's
character.
Portman.
Stop making fun of me.
And so he lights himself on fire, and after his flame kind of dies down, someone kind of comes in on frame and turns around, and it's the husband.
Yeah. Well, he even says, "I will." He answers him. But when he's behind the camera. Yeah, and then that was like, I'm like, oh, he's going to turn back and look at the camera. It was a little cliche, but they kind of had to do it like, oh, it's the reveal,
Yeah. And so you get the idea like, okay, this thing is either the husband that did make it out is the real husband, and he's confused, or the person that just burned himself was the real husband.
Yeah.
And so a little bit of a sci-fi trope cliche is like the doppelganger versus the real person.
Yeah.
But
shoot them.
Yeah. But it wasn't done like that.
It wasn't that. No, it was not that bad at all. It was actually pretty decent.
Yeah, so she just wants to find answers, so she climbs into the hole. This is where I had to kind of go off to the side in the theater.
Yeah. It's where it gets really Tool music video-esque.
When she goes down there and she sees the psychologist, I didn't really hear what the psychologist said.
I don't
Other than the title drop, which I hated that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because she explains, like...
I still don't really understand what the title has anything to do with the movie, to be honest.
Annihilation.
Yeah, she's just saying that everything, that if the shimmer keeps growing, it's going to annihilate the whole world.
Yeah. That's what I get, too, because everything's going to deteriorate, but also kind of, like, meld into each other. So it'll be an extinction event.
Yeah.
That creates new life.
Right,
That's the thing of it. And so it's like, oh, did something do this on purpose? And they're just trying to terraform or whatever.
Right.
And so title drop, and then, which I was like, just say it's going to destroy the world. Don't say actual annihilate.
Yeah.
What happened to the lady? She just started turning into,
This is the part where I started getting pulled out of the movie again, because it looked really silly, in my opinion. She's, like, spinning around, and, like, light is coming out of her mouth, like, in, like, these balls or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's
a cool-looking scene, but in regards to being such a serious movie up to that point.
Yeah.
It was like, title drop, oh, all shit's gone loose. Like, what the fuck? Like,
I didn't mind all the shit going loose after that. It was just that part that just kind of
loose. No, all hell breaks loose, and the shit hits the fan.
There you go. Yeah.
Just trying to combine those two. Don't let me rub off on you, Jared. But on a positive note, that was just kind of like a quick little thing, and then it gets fine. It gets really kind of dreamlike, and this is where I was really enjoying it too.
It also gets even weirder.
Yeah, and then that thing turns into this like black hole looking thing with light in the center instead.
And also,
it's like a cone.
This whole time, fractals is everywhere. Like everywhere you see, there's fractals, and obviously that comes from the whole prism thing. But now, like when she goes in the room, the entrance looks like it's a panel. Like the whole room is like panels, kind of. But like it was very Alien-esque, or what's his name?
H.R. Geiger.
H.R. Geiger-esque.
Yeah. Biomechanics.
And then then the thing floating in the middle also was kind of like fractals. It's very like
fractals.
It's like
There's a lot of fractals there, Jim.
Yeah. Like the 3D version of an octagon or whatever, something like that. But it's got like one big hole in the middle, which I think it showed that on the video camera when she turned it on.
Yeah, because it kind of cut between
yeah.
scenes, which seemed a little weird.
It showed that, and then it showed him outside walking into the building. That's when he sits down.
Yeah.
But anyway.
And so this thing, just she stares into it, and you can tell she's like mesmerized by it almost. Yeah. And like a little cut of, and with some blood, gets pulled towards it. So it's like, okay, it's sucking something in. The blood goes in there, and it gets all close up, and it shows the blood dividing.
Right.
Just like how, because it keeps showing the cells dividing, like close-ups and stuff.
Yeah.
And so it keeps dividing and multiplying. Eventually turns into like a person. I'm like, oh, this is gonna turn into a reflection of her.
Yeah.
And so it turns into this, like, just like formless, or it's like, it looks like the silhouette of a person, but no details. So it's just super smooth. And then so Natalie Portman's like, I gotta get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
So she climbs back up the hole, and that thing follows her. And Natalie Portman tries to leave, and that thing pushes up against her.
Right.
And it's kind of doing the same movements to her, and so I was like, oh, it's doing just like the antelope did.
It seems like it's mirroring her, except for when she struggles against it.
Yeah. Because it's not...
Like, it can't let her leave.
Even the antelope wasn't one-to-one.
Right,
There were slight differences. Like, it's watching her, and it's mimicking her as best as it can.
Right.
But it's not, it doesn't have to perfectly mirror.
Right.
And so it pushes up against her, but then I think she's getting crushed, and if she keeps doing what she's doing, it's going to crush her to death.
Oh, yeah.
Because you see her face kind of like getting a little squished.
Right.
So but I think she figures that out, and she kind of like releases from it. Mm-hmm. And so that thing, or no, she starts to pass out because she's not able to breathe. And so as soon as she starts falling, that thing starts falling too. Yeah. And this is when it starts to get one-to-one.
Yeah.
So she falls on the ground, and that thing falls on the ground too. She gets up, it gets up, and they just stare at each other. And so she kind of figures out, okay, it's just mirroring me. Right. She walks over, goes down, picks up another phosphorus grenade.
Well, right, just real quick, right before that, there's one point where it's not exactly one-to-one because she's like backing up, but it's taking the same steps but forwards. Like
it's getting
with
right next to her.
Yeah. Anyway,
so it's not mirrored movement, but it's trying to just copy.
Yeah.
It's just a doppelganger. Yeah, and so she does that, puts it in its hand, and then quickly backs away before it can react.
Well, as she's holding it, that's when it takes the actual form of her.
Oh yeah,
and you can actually watch her face. That part was actually really cool. Like watch her face form into the thing.
So, and then she pulls a pin, lights the thing on fire, and that thing is like, you can tell now it has its own will because it's like looking at it,
Yeah.
It's starting to develop into Natalie Portman, so you get the idea of it's becoming a person.
Right.
Like a copy of her. And then Natalie Portman gets the fuck out of Dodge, and that thing, its arms are on fire, and it's just kind of like, looking around, and then it goes up to the dead body, and it just touches the dead body. Like,
right.
Like it's just trying to figure stuff out, because it probably can't feel pain, whatever.
Yeah.
And then it accidentally touches something else that lights the rest of the lighthouse on fire.
Mm-hmm.
And then Natalie Portman's just running away. The lighthouse catches fire, and then you start to see the rainbow that you were talking about start to fade. And then the crystal trees fall.
The crystal trees are catching on fire and burning down.
Yeah. And so you're getting like the idea of like, okay, it's killing the whatever alien creature was in the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Because that thing crawls in the hole to try to go back, and then everything catches fire, blah, blah, blah. And so the shimmer disappears.
Yeah.
And then this is when we catch up to the scenes that are cutting in of them interrogating her, and they ask her, oh, was it trying to hurt us? What was it trying to do? And she's like, nothing. It was just existed.
Yeah.
It wasn't thinking for itself. It just...
And they're like, well, first off, they're like, so it was alien. And then they're like, so it was trying to destroy us. And she's like, no, it wasn't trying to destroy us. It was just trying to create something new. And they're like, what? I don't know.
Well, she was saying it was just like, it wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
It just happened to be
creating something new.
So it's just a force of nature. It's not an actual intelligent being. It just, because it would copy people, it'd create a duplicate, and you can kind of get the idea that it was starting to think for itself because it's a copy of a person.
Yeah.
And so that's why her husband kind of went insane, because he's like, am I the copy? Are you the copy? I don't know anymore. I'm fucking losing my mind. And he kills himself. And then, so they, everything's kind of, this is where everything melds out, and she's like, how's my husband? Like, as soon as the shimmer went away, his organs went back to normal. He started breathing. His pulse returned. And so she's like, okay. And so she goes to see him, problem solved.
Right.
Happy day, wins. And she sees him, and he's standing kind of still. And she comes in. She's like, you're not, what's his name?
I don't know. Kato or something like that?
You're Kane.
Kane?
Yeah.
Oh.
She's like, you're not Kane. He's like, yeah, I don't think so.
Right.
Like, he just straight up tells her.
Yeah, like, I don't think so.
Because, he's a copy of the, Kane, but he kind of gets the idea, yeah, I'm not him.
Right.
And he's like, are you...
I think it's
wife's
Leanne.
name. Leanne.
Leanne.
And then she doesn't really say anything, and she just goes to hug him, and then you can see his eyes have like a shimmer to them.
Yeah.
And then it goes to her eyes are normal. Cuts back to his are shimmering, cuts back to hers starts to shimmer.
Yeah. So we get to up to the imagination.
In the movie.
And yeah.
And so you get the idea of like, okay, either she's a doppelganger or she's affected enough by the shimmer.
Yeah.
So either way, she's kind of the same thing. And so, yeah, that's the best way to leave it kind of open was... Because a lot of movies that leave it open, it's just like, okay, it's either one or the other. It doesn't fucking matter. This one's like, yeah, it doesn't matter because this is fucking...
Right. I mean, almost...
The characters don't know, so you don't know.
Maybe it did create something new. And
Yeah.
now there's something new. Because she was changing while she was in there. So whether she's a doppelganger or the original... There's something different.
Yeah.
And now there's something different in our world. Whether it be for the worse or for the better, who knows?
No, genetic diversity is usually good, right?
Depends. That's where you get, genetic problems.
That's where you don't get
Then
genetic
again,
problems.
that's what mutations are.
Inbreeding is genetic problems.
Yeah, well, mutations are, for the most part, bad. It just sometimes they happen to be good, and that's
I guess so.
how we became humans.
That shit just got deep.
We're all mutants.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Not wrong.
Since we're not single-celled organisms, so we're definitely mutants.
Talk for yourself.
Hey.
Yeah, I know we just explained the whole movie, but this is one of the few times where we legitimately...
Yeah.
For the most part, the movie just goes towards its goal and it's moving somewhere.
Yeah.
It takes its slow moments, and those are always good because it goes slow and then gets intense and then goes slow, so you can kind of have this little bit of a roller coaster. Yeah, the sex affair thing, you can just cut that out of the movie, and it would be totally fine. It has, other than the very beginning scene where he's talking to her, which that's totally fine. It's somebody, her friend, concerned for her because she's not getting out because she misses him and stuff.
Right.
The only thing it connects to is like he's touching her arm very intimately.
Yeah.
You cut that out. The acting, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It didn't pull me from the movie, but it didn't help me get more sucked into the movie.
Right.
So it was just kind of neutral, except for the psychologist.
Right.
Hers was a little bit like, oh, what?
The CGI was noticeable.
Yeah.
But I didn't mind it. It felt like I was looking at a piece of art. Because when you look at paintings, obviously it's not realistic. But it felt like it fit almost to me. Like,
I think there was some CG that was kind of like rough on me. The only one that I just fully was like, okay, this is fine, was the doppelganger.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not supposed to be something familiar. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be out of place. And I'm like, you know what, that's okay. I'm fine with that.
Oh, you know one thing I noticed? You know how you say you notice when you notice lighting it's bad? There was one moment.
Oh, which
There's
one?
one tree that's lit up, and you know the art department spent all day on that fucking tree, and
Really?
it probably was too dark. Like, you guys better get a fucking light on that tree. We spent all day on that,
Yeah.
you know? Because it was just one tree just lit up.
Did you also think, like, when they were right before the first bear attacks, and they're just kind of hanging out in this little outpost, and they just have a light shining, like, hey, wilderness, come eat me.
Oh, I didn't notice.
But, well, yeah, because they're already attacked by an alligator at that point.
Right, yeah.
That means wildlife is able to survive here.
Well, also, like, they were attacked by an alligator, and then they just totally get on boats and get on the water. I'm like, okay. It's not like it was just like a regular alligator attack. That alligator was either going to eat them or die.
Do alligator sharks attack boats, though?
I don't know. I don't know this universe that well.
I've seen swamp people that show.
I haven't.
Yeah, they're
There's
on
alligator
boats.
sharks in that?
There's alligators.
Yeah, but sharks act differently than alligators. Actually, well, but sharks stay away from people mostly, so.
Yeah.
So they kind of...
So that one was fine, because I've seen, like, when people are in the swamps, if you're in a boat, you're usually okay. If you're not, you're fine.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because, yeah, they're in boats at night.
Yeah, but
shining,
that
they're
giant thing.
Yeah, they're shining fucking crocodiles.
Oh, okay.
And, like, there's one over there. And then they catch them because they're fucking crazy white people.
Yeah, right.
Got nothing else to do out there. Might as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Great movie.
If you haven't seen it and you listen to this whole thing, still go see it.
Even with that kind of spoiled, great visuals, great art, great
Yes.
horror moments,
Oh, yeah.
great set pieces.
It gets really intense.
So it can give you some inspiration for
One of the
something
weird
your own.
things, of course, I'm bad with names, so it doesn't affect me whatsoever.
Yeah.
But at the very beginning of the movie, he states all the people that died. He says, what happened to this? I don't know. How about this person? Dead. How about this person? Dead. How about this person? I don't know. They pretty much, even though everybody else essentially dies, but...
I think that was fine, because enough saying, like, I don't know, is enough to be like, okay, well, then what happened to him?
Right, yeah.
So I was fine with that. Like, yeah, Natalie Portman was the only one made it back.
Yeah.
You don't really get too invested in the characters.
Yeah, not really.
I guess, yeah, because this one, it's more about the idea, the mystery.
Yeah, there really isn't any character development, except for becoming a doppelganger alien.
Oh, I thought you said there's no character development other than becoming dead.
I mean, I guess that's a character development.
Yeah.
Develop into death.
Great movie.
Yeah, alright, go see it. And that is goodbye.
Bye-bye.